Ladies and gentlemen, there's a version of you right now that is sleeping beneath the surface. A version that doesn't flinch when life throws a punch. A version that doesn't wait for permission. That doesn't need applause. That doesn't crack under pressure. It dominates pressure. That version becomes real the moment you choose the mindset that makes you untouchable. First, it starts with radical responsibility. Let me make this clear. As long as you're blaming, complaining, or waiting, you're giving your power away. Take it back. Own your outcomes, own your results, own your life. Second, pain is not your enemy. Pain is your invitation. When the world hits you hard, that's your moment. Most people fold. You rise, you use it. You say, this is fuel, this is fire, let's go. Third, stop living by default and start living by design. You want to be untouchable. Raise your standards. Make them non-negotiable. You don't get what you want, you get your standards. And when your standards become sacred, your life starts to shift. Fourth, your emotions are not random. Your mindset isn't a mystery. Your energy is a choice. I want to change your life. Change your state. Move your body. Change your breath. Sharpen your focus. You master that moment, you master your mind. Fifth, comfort is a trap. Untouchable people live in discomfort. Why? Because they know the struggle isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's sharpening the sword. Every day get uncomfortable. On purpose. That's where your power lies. And finally, act with massive certainty. You don't need all the answers. You need a decision. Once you commit with conviction, the world gets out of your way. People follow clarity. Energy follows certainty. And action relentless. Bold action creates momentum that nothing can stop. Let the world doubt you. Let them criticize, question, mock. You rise. Because when you lock in this mindset, when you own it, when you live it, you don't just become stronger. You become untouchable. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must make a decision, continue blaming the world, or take full ownership of everything they experience. Radical responsibility means drawing a line in the sand and saying no more excuses. It's the mindset that transforms victims into visionaries, complainers into creators. When you embrace this, you stop waiting for someone to rescue you. You stop looking for external permission to rise. You stop believing that circumstances define your destiny. Life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. Every setback, every betrayal, every disappointment is not there to break you. It's there to build you, but it can only do that if you stop pointing fingers and start looking inward. You can't control what happens outside of you, but you can always control your response. That's where your power is. The moment you say, this is mine, you reclaim your energy. You reclaim your clarity. You stop leaking power into excuses, blame, and stories that don't serve you. Most people are addicted to being right, being justified, being comfortable. But when you take radical responsibility, you give all of that up in exchange for something far more powerful, freedom. The freedom to act, the freedom to lead, the freedom to create a life on your terms. This mindset isn't about shame or guilt. It's not about taking the blame for things outside your control. It's about recognizing that your ability to respond to your responsibility is your superpower. From this place, no one can take your peace, your drive, or your identity away from you. You become grounded, centered, and unshakable. You stop reacting to life and start pain as life's greatest teacher, but only if you're willing to learn. Most people run from it. They numb it, avoid it, blame others for it. But pain, when faced head on, becomes the very thing that shapes your resilience, your grit, your fire. Adversity doesn't show up to destroy you, it shows up to reveal you, to show you what you're made of. Every time you fall, every time you fail, every time you feel like it's too much to carry, that's the moment you're being forged into something stronger. Steel is made in fire. Diamonds are created under pressure. Why would it be any different for you? When you stop resisting pain and start leaning into it, everything changes. You begin to see your challenges not as barriers, but as building blocks. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? That shift alone changes everything. Because in that moment, you take back your power. You stop playing defense and start playing offense. Struggle becomes strategy. Hurt becomes hunger. And pain becomes the path. You don't need a perfect life to become powerful. You need perspective. You need the courage to sit with your suffering, face it, and say, this will not break me, it will build me. It's easy to be confident when things are going your way. It's easy to be positive when life is smooth. But real power is earned in the dark. Real strength is forged in the fight. The moments that feel the heaviest are the very ones that can lift you the highest if you choose to grow through them. Your story of struggle can become your story of strength, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. Your standards shape your reality more than your goals ever will. Goals are what you want. Standards are what you accept. And the truth is, most people don't have high standards, they have preferences. They prefer success, they prefer health, they prefer happiness. But preference is weak. Standards are powerful. When you set a standard, you draw a hard line. You say, this is who I am. This is what I demand from myself. This is what I tolerate, nothing less. And once that standard is set, your actions must follow. Not when it's convenient, not when it's easy, every single day. Most people lower their standards to match their environment. Winners raise their environment to match their standards. They don't negotiate with mediocrity. They don't compromise with comfort. They set standards so high they feel uncomfortable and then they stretch to meet them. That's how growth happens. That's how greatness is built. High standards force you to become more, to show up with more focus, more discipline, more intensity, and more integrity. Because living by high standards isn't about being perfect, it's about being consistent. It's about holding yourself accountable when no one's watching. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. Your standards define your identity. They dictate your habits, your decisions, your relationships, and ultimately your outcomes. If you don't like your results, look at your standards, raise them. Then raise them again. Because when you make excellence non-negotiable, you stop settling for average. And the moment you stop settling, the world starts responding. Life begins to reflect the level at which you demand to operate. It's not about wishing for more, it's about requiring more from yourself and refusing to accept anything less. Your state, your mental and emotional and physical energy in any given moment determines how you experience life. It controls your decisions, your reactions, your level of confidence, and ultimately the results you produce. And here's the truth most people never realize. You are not at the mercy of your state. You can control it. You can shift it. You can command it. Your mind doesn't lead your body leads your mind. Change your posture, change your breath, change your movement, and your thoughts will follow. Emotion is created by motion. Slouch and breathe shallow and your mind drifts into uncertainty and fear. Stand tall, breathe deep, move with purpose, and you ignite focus, power, and certainty. People wait for the right mindset to take action. But the truth is, action creates the mindset. You don't need motivation to move, you need to move to get motivation. Whether it's jumping, shouting, running, clapping, or simply standing with strength, the moment you activate your physiology, you shift your internal state. And in that state, everything changes. Challenges become opportunities. Doubt turns into determination. Confusion becomes clarity. Energy is no longer a mystery, it becomes a tool you command on demand. This is not about hype, it's about mastery. When you learn to control your state, you gain the ability to lead your life instead of reacting to it. You stop letting the outside world dictate your internal experience. You become the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the tone. You bring the energy. And when you live in a peak state, you start making decisions from a place of power, not pressure. That's how leaders think. That's how champions operate. You shift your state. And you don't just change your mindset, you change your destiny. Growth is not something that happens when it's convenient. It happens when you make it a priority, when you commit to it fully, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Comfort is seductive. It lulls you into a false sense of security. It tells you that staying the same is safe, that risk is dangerous, that stretching is painful. But the truth is, comfort zones are cages dressed up to look like paradise. And over time, those cages shrink. Your potential shrinks, your fire dims, your hunger fades. If you're not growing, you're not standing still, you're slowly dying inside. The moment you make growth non-negotiable, you start to wake up. You begin to seek challenge instead of avoiding it. You start to ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of how do I make this easier? Growth requires discomfort. It demands that you face resistance, that you lean into fear, that you do what others won't. It means making hard decisions, saying no to things that feel good but keep you small, saying yes to things that scare you but stretch you. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you become more focused, more resilient, more alive. Most people chase comfort, but nothing extraordinary is born from ease. The best version of you is hidden behind the parts of life you've been avoiding. And the only way to reach it is to get uncomfortable on purpose, to push when it's hard, to act when it's scary, to move when it would be easier to stay still. Growth is a decision you make daily. It's not about pace, it's about direction. And when you commit to growth with intensity and intention, you don't just improve, you transform. You rise above mediocrity and into a life that reflects your true potential. Certainty is not about having all the answers. It's about deciding that no matter what happens, you will figure it out. Most people wait for clarity before they take action, but the truth is clarity comes from action. If you hesitate, you lose momentum. If you doubt, you lose power. Doubt is a thief. It steals your drive, your focus, and your future. But when you act with massive certainty, you create movement, and movement creates progress. Success doesn't come from tiptoeing around your goals. It comes from going all in, burning the boats, cutting off the escape routes, and showing up with absolute commitment. Your brain is always listening to what you say and what you do. When you move with conviction, you build trust with yourself. You train your mind to believe that you follow through, that you don't back down, that when you decide, it's done. That kind of belief isn't born, it's built. It's earned through decisions made under pressure, through action taken in the face of fear, through discipline repeated when no one's watching. Indecision is the enemy. Waiting is the enemy. You don't need more time, more opinions, or more validation. You need to trust your gut, commit to a direction, and move like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Every moment you hesitate is a moment lost. But when you decide and go all in, the world starts to shift. Resources show up, people respond. Opportunities appear, not because they weren't there before, but because you weren't ready to see them. Certainty is a force. It influences everything around you. When you act with certainty, you don't just chase your dream, you grab it, own it, and live it with everything you've got.